Good evening and welcome to the October 14th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. A couple things before we start.
Turn your phone.
Electronic devices or cell phones, please silence them. And they don't go off during the meeting if you're here to speak on anything. And we encourage you to do so. We just ask that you go to the podium here and state your name for the recording secretary. Okay? All right, first on the agenda tonight is both the minutes of September 23rd.
Mr. Chairman,
Mary.
I've read the minutes and other than three minor corrections, I think they're in good order. Move to accept them.
Second.
Okay, so we got Mary and Betsy on the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. October 7th, 2015. Betsy.
I read them and found them very good as usual. I mean, there's a, like a T left out of an at, but I'm not gonna, that doesn't have to be corrected.
Or an S off of powers, and that doesn't have to be corrected.
Or an S off powers.
Yeah.
So I move that they be accepted.
Second.
Okay, so Betsy and Mike, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, I'm abstaining because I was not here for October 2nd, 7th, I mean. All right, so next up is a request for a continuance under notice of intent. Susan Butterworth, 550 and 560 Minot Road, East Falmouth, Mass. I'm not sure, this hasn't been read in, right, Jen?
No, it has not.
Okay. For permission to construct a deck addition with stairs to remove approximately 900 square feet of impervious driveway and walkways, decompact the areas, and install native tree and shrubs, a stepping stone walking path, remove invasive plants, selective treat with herbicide, install native plantings and associated clearing, excavating, grading, landscaping. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until October 28th.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have
Who seconded? Mary, thank God.
we have Maury. Maury's on the motion.
Mary.
Mary. Any discussion amongst the board? Any comments or questions from the public? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Unanimous, so moved. Jacqueline Holmes, 41 Co Street, East Falmouth, Mass. This has been read in. Jen.
Yes, continuance request to November 4th.
So moved. Second.
I have a question.
They're going
Betsy.
before the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, that's the answer to my question.
It's either next week or the week after.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion amongst the board? Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Okay, Peter and Louise Donovan, 41 Point Road, Wacoit, Mass.
Hamlin
Jen.
Point Road. Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Hamlin
the
Point Road, I'm sorry.
applicant is requesting a continuance until October 28th. And before anyone asks, you continued it last week to this week. We met last week with the representatives. We're meeting again on Friday morning. So hopefully we'll have everything wrapped up and they'll have a revised plan in if necessary next week for you. Okay?
So at the request of the applicant, we're going to continue this till
28th.
28th.
So that's Maury with a motion,
Second.
Mary with a second. Questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
You'll let us know if there's a revised plan?
Correct. I will.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else? Questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Okay, request for determination of applicability. First up is National Grid, care of Deborah Blanche, along Valley Road to 25 Valley Road, Falmouth, Mass, with permission to install a 2-inch diameter plastic line extension along Valley Road in gas service to connect 25 Valley Road with 2 feet of paved roadway and driveway. Jen.
This is Commissioner Gladfelter's exciting gas line project. -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
We got Mike and Betsy on the second. Questions or comments from the commission? Questions or comments from the public?
I think it's nice that they might have a gas fireplace for a cold winter coming up.
Exciting.
Very exciting,
Is that it?
yes.
Okay. I hear no other comments or questions from the public or from the commission. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. All right, next up is National Grid, care of Deborah Blanche, along Damon Drive to 59 Cumloden Drive, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install a 2-inch diameter plastic line extension along Damon Drive and gas service to connect 59 Cumloden Drive with 2 feet of paved roadway and driveway, within 2 feet of paved roadway and driveway. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, -2 under the bylaw, -3 under the state with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Betsy and Mary on the second. Questions or comments from the commission?
One comment. After the first one, and then reading this one with the vernal pool and the erosion issues, I've noticed in several cases with gas installations and road digs, that maybe we should just recommend that they keep some kind of, a biolog or something rolling, because they don't know it's going to all of a sudden break out into a thunderstorm, and they just should be mandatory to be on site, so that they don't have to
Like
run back
yesterday.
to the shop. Exactly.
2 inches of
Yeah.
rain.
Not wait till they're sitting there and we've got half of it dug up, and then they go, oh my goodness, we need to,
Okay.
they just,
I am
Good
quite sure
Recommend
the
it.
representative heard your comments.
I see him writing furiously, so.
Thank you, Maury.
Okay, no other questions or comments from the commission, from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. All right, next up is
Thank you.
Ed Lynn, 20 Swift Street, West Falmouth, Mass, with permission to repair and repoint the existing stone seawall, loose material to remove off-site, all work done by hand.
Yes,
Jen.
Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
so moved.
Second.
Lori and Mike.
And it's Lion.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's my bad side, my writing is not very good. Any other comments or questions from the commission?
It's Lion. The man's name is Ed Lion.
Lion, what did I
Yeah,
say?
Lynn.
Lynn? Apologize.
It's okay.
Ed Lion. Okay, questions or
So I have a
comments
question.
from
This is next to some other area that has recently been repointed,
Yes.
is that correct? Yeah,
Yes.
because he came in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's-
that's you,
Continuing
Yeah,
all the way
great.
around.
great.
All right, questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Quistit Beach Association, care of David Domingos, 620 Surf Drive, Falmouth, Mass, with permission to plant approximately a 22-foot by 92-foot section of beach along Surf Drive to prevent further erosion and build coastal dune that includes dune grass, shrub plantings, and the temporary installation of wood storm fencing. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Jamie and Maury?
Yep.
Any questions or comments,
Lots.
Mary?
Yes. It says build coastal dune, is that by means of the planting, is that all?
Yeah, by means of
Okay, they're
installing
not
the
bringing
fence,
in
so,
sand.
no.
Okay,
Scrap it.
right.
So they're not bringing in sand?
I don't
They're doing
believe
it with
so.
plantings.
No, they're
Talk
installing the
about this.
beach fence,
Just to stabilize what they have there and
Yeah.
hopefully trap some more.
yeah.
Okay. That's fine then, because that was my question. I was afraid they were bringing in, and what's the height, and how many cubic yards, and then, yeah.
And
got
is
that
it
out.
compatible?
Yeah, it's sand, yeah. Okay, that's why it was a -2, I guess.
All right. No other questions or comments from the commission yet? Comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Mark DiStefano, 157 T-Ticket Path, East Falmouth, Mass., for permission to construct a second story over the existing garage to install 5 helical support posts with no increase in footprint, and to install native bayberry, beach plum plantings at the top of the coastal bank as required under an expired order of conditions, DEP 25-1744. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, you got Mike and Betsy. Doug, did you want to,
Only if you have questions.
questions or comments from the commission?
You're ahead right now.
I had one,
Fine.
Maureen,
I just had one comment. It's not really, that I'm sure you're anxious to get the plantings in, but to get plantings in this time of year, their success rate would probably be better if you go no later than the May 15th. Only, I mean, that's just,
And I was taking Mark's suggestion on that they probably would be not very successful, and I'm,
okay,
It's
all
getting
right.
late, yeah.
It's getting late,
right.
okay. That's all my comments.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstention, unanimous, so moved.
Okay, great, thank you.
Doug, have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
guys. Nice to see you, Doug.
Okay, request for hearings under notice of intent,
More.
notice of
No
intent.
sand screen.
Yeah, 550 and 560 Minot Road has been continued already. All right, continued request for hearings under notice of intent.
Yeah.
41 Cove Street, East Falmouth, Jacqueline Holmes, that has been continued.
Correct.
Yep. And, okay, CRC Eel River Development LLC, 30 Eel River Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Permission to raise the existing dwelling and construct a new single-family, 5-bedroom house with attached garage, deck, stairs, pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools and install a new Title V sewage disposal system, AC pad, dry wells, remove trees, install native mitigation plantings and associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
This has been continued, so.
Yes,
Oh,
Mr.
that's fine.
Chairman, this project was continued for a couple of revisions to the plan. One, the buffer zone needed to go from 25 feet to a 50-foot no disturbance zone, or Zone A in this case.
Maybe just the power on the projector? Sorry.
I don't think you're supposed to.
You can just turn the power
Set
on.
the power on.
On the projector.
All right.
There we go.
Here you go.
It's gone. Don't stop touching. A couple of the trees that were originally proposed to be removed are now remaining. And I think, Mr. Chairman, you asked for the house to be shifted, but that was not done.
Because I noticed that in the plan that it hadn't got moved forward, Jeff. I asked about that, if it could be moved closer to the road.
Actually, I didn't write that one down. I know that Mary, by the way, I'm Jeff Ryther with BSS Design, representing the applicant. Mary had asked me, or made a suggestion about, could that house be moved forward or brought to the road. I guess it could be. We didn't want to really compete exactly with the house next door. As I mentioned before, we're moving that house, an entire existing house width, so it's about 30 feet. We're moving the house towards the road already. I thought that was a pretty good improvement, but I would like to just go over what Jennifer just described. The coastal bank is one of these coastal banks that you have to apply the 10-to-1 pitch because it's in a flood zone, so it has these little tags that are, make an awkward little top of coastal bank, but when you offset that, you're offsetting really from these farthest points. So this is the A, the 50-foot, even though it's much more than 50, but 50 at the minimums. And then the next 50 for your A and B buffers. So what we did is we recalculated the mitigation, and it comes out very similar because now the entire existing house is in the A buffer, but only half the house, proposed house, is in the A buffer. And there is some driveway here that gives credit to the calculation as well. So even though we moved the line 25 feet closer to the road, the calculation is very similar. So the two areas of mitigation are on either side of the walkway down to the dock. I did leave these, Moria Harlow Hawks asked me to put some circles around where the trees are, so I wasn't planting on the tree and not getting credit in that area. So that's been done. I'll go through my list. And I'm sorry I didn't write down to move the house, but that's a big one. Recalculate the shrubs for the 50-foot buffer. We just talked about that. There are 4 linden trees that we were proposing to take out right across the, we're near the limit of work. You'll see them if you look close. Those are no longer to be removed. There's a mimosa tree, I relabeled that, and that is to be removed, and that's down in here. We talked about the circles around the trees for the buffer shrubs. There was a call out for an existing boat winch that got removed. The owner took it out. It had rotted away, the wood connection, so he didn't need that anyway at the moment. Talked about the marsh at the ramp. Now, this isn't to be used by anything but smaller boats, such as a skiff or a dinghy, or perhaps a canoe. So there's not a need for backing down big vehicles. This is just access because there's riprap across here. So it leaves a nice opening to get down into the water there. We talked about leaving these oak trees. We did have some oak trees that come out in here, and those are no longer to be removed, except for there was one oak that we talked about that was going to be too close to the building to save, so we have one there in the A buffer coming out. We were going to continue to the 14th. Here we are today. We just talked about the double oak and the stone riprap. You asked me to look into the stone riprap for whatever I could find. I did come across 2 documents on the stone riprap. Back in '73, I don't believe there was a commission like there is today, but the selectmen have the same wetland hearing today as they did in '73. So this is the selectmen's permit. You can pass it down, or you want it?
Well, I want it for the record, but you can pass it down.
I have 2 of them. If you...
Oh, I'll put this in the record and we'll pass that one down.
All right, so
One down to go to Jen.
there's a selectmen's permit for the riprap. The next page is the applicant back in the day, in '73, had filed with the Division of Waterways, basically asking, do I need a license or not? And their response was, well, the riprap is being built landward of the mean high water, out of jurisdiction, so no, it does not need a Chapter 91 license. So that's the second page of what you got there in your packet. So, 1973 it was approved, and the house was built 1960. And I'm not sure exactly when that wall was built, probably the next year. And that covers the 10 items or so that I was asked to look into.
All right. Questions or comments? Jen, you got
Jeff,
something?
do you have that little color-coded schematic?
I can give you the last, are you looking for last?
No, remember you said I asked you if you were going to bring the color-coded, the little, oh, you don't have like a little 11 by 17? Okay, question. Your AC, no, that's okay. Your AC units, were those calculated into your proposed, we're going to have to add those in, okay? It only comes up to another 96 square feet of planting.
I'm not sure, I think I actually did, but I just moved it into the house.
Okay, because they're not shaded, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, they're not shaded, but,
Just double check that for me.
yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I am quite a bit over, close to 200, 300 square feet over.
Okay.
That's the old plan.
No, you're about 200.
Yeah, a good 200 or so
Okay.
over in planting.
All right. And your wall, does it touch mean high water now?
No.
No? Okay, you're
No, on the-
good.
on the
That's
plan,
my
it-
question.
It comes close over near the boat ramp, but it's right through here, you'll see mean high water, or MHW.
Okay,
And you can confirm that also on the dock project, it's the same line,
okay,
it has more elevation. So-
okay.
Jen?
I'm all set.
Nancy, anything else?
Yeah, well, the other question I had is the tree that you do have to take down, are you mitigating for that?
Yes, just so you know, on the seaward side of the house, of the existing house, in fact, there are over 30 trees that are remaining.
Uh-huh.
And then we are adding 10 more trees, but mostly on the side here. Kind of a variety of spaces there, but
So, yes, you're mitigating for the one you're
yes,
taking down?
oh yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Mary?
No questions.
Jamie?
No questions.
Mike? Maureen?
Just two. On your legend, are you, how are you showing your new proposed trees? And I'm sure I've seen it. It just says proposed native tree typical of 10.
Yeah, there's that shape right there that looks like a pinwheel turnip.
Yep, okay, that's what I circled, so I was just making
There's,
sure.
5 on this side and there's 5 on this side.
Yep, okay, then I got those right. And then, just so when we probably deliberate, I'm gonna ask that, snow fence be put around these trees and not wrapped around them, because I find that whenever contractors just wrap the snow fence or orange fencing around them, they just keep slamming into them. It'll be set off of them, you know, that there'll be 2x4s or posts of some sort to hold it, just so that doesn't blindside you when you get your order. Usually what they do is they put all the fill up against the tree with the snow fence, and also back the equipment into the trees with the snow fence, so it really doesn't protect them.
So you want like stakes? and
Yeah,
then-
probably
Yeah,
3 feet around
to
them.
be impacted.
Yeah, just so the roots don't get impacted and fill doesn't get put up against the trunks. Because it's a tight area in there. And I think that the limit of work, maybe, I don't want to, hamstring you, but I had asked in the last one that the limit of work be at the top of the coastal bank, and I understand how tight it is already there, so you kept it in the same spot. But the limit of work doesn't go up to protect those oaks that are on the north side. So that's why either it's going to be some kind of protection of those trees, something to be very visible. I think if I scaled it, it's not very far away. I think you only have like 8 feet off of that. Not even.
We have one that we talked about taking out.
Yeah, the double oak is going away.
But the 10 would be, we could, we'll have to, wrap
We're
those.
protecting
Yeah,
the
'cause
10-inch oak. we're
The 10-inch
protecting
oak, all the,
several
any of the,
sticks,
yeah.
all the lindens,
Yeah, that can be,
Well, I mean,
12-inch oak.
One of the reasons why we're here is, we have to take this house out, so there's gonna be a little bit of disturbance around the house. So, certainly we'll have to get those linden trees wrapped.
Oh, there,
I mean, that's conditional.
yeah.
It's conditional.
But just so
and all
they're
those have
not
to be protected.
surprised that
Right.
it's not that, they usually just like to wrap the orange silt fence
Right.
around it and call it a day. And that was it, just the oak ledge and that.
Kristen? You good? All right, well, it's a pleasure of the board.
I'd like to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
Did you get that, Jamie? Seconded? Oh, Jamie seconded it.
Yep. Maury with the motion.
Wasn't quite quick.
Any other discussion?
I didn't get the name.
Did you see this? Saw this?
It's unsaved deeds. The old plan
All right, any other questions or comments from the
and
commission?
the narrative. Put it all together.
Okay. Hearing none, questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, Jeff, have a nice night.
Have a good one, Jeff.
To make sure you don't forget anything.
Okay.
Like the silt fence, tree.
That was that one.
All right. Next is Demetrios Carrios? Kyrios. 130 Waterside Drive, North Falmouth, Mass. And I believe this has been read in already, so.
Yes.
Jennifer?
I'll save any of my comments or questions until after Barbara's very last
Barbara.
presentation before this board.
Oh, this is your last presentation?
This is it,
Oh.
Are you gonna come visit us afterwards?
maybe. It all depends.
Bring your popcorn.
Bring the popcorn.
Yes. Good evening. For the record, Barbara Frappia with Warwick and Associates. And this is a property that is on Waterside Drive, properly staked this week, I might add. It is a raise and rebuild. Resource areas include land under ocean, coastal bank, land subject to coastal snow and flowage. And this is the house, I think you can see in your plan, the existing house in red and the proposed house in black on your plans. The process is pretty simple. We've moved it back, the house back from the top of the coastal bank, and we have reduced the footprint within the buffer zone, the 100-foot buffer, by a total of 2 square feet. We've taken it completely outside of the A buffer, so we no longer have any part of the house or the patio or anything within the A buffer. The septic system meets Title V as well as your regulations for setback, not only to the house, but to the sidelines and to the resource areas. And this is pretty much a pretty simple thing. I just did this picture here. This is the existing house, but when it's done, the patio, the new patio will come to about this point, and the house will be back even farther than what's being shown. And I have my dry well thing. And I think that's pretty much it. I did give you the schematic that Jen had mentioned earlier in the previous hearing, showing the difference between before and now, and we are including the AC pads in our calculations. You're welcome. So it's pretty simple. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Jen?
No, it's fairly straightforward.
Okay. Kristen?
It's a flat
Very
from the
flat.
coastal? Okay. So,
With the riprap.
okay,
So it's riprap and then pretty flat lawn and then the structure.
okay.
Maury?
No comments.
Mike?
No question.
Betsy? Oh, Mary?
I assume there's no increase in bedrooms, right?
No increase in flow. The system is sized for 4 bedrooms, I think. Don't hold me to that. I can look it up if you want the actuals. But we're not increasing bedrooms.
I think, I have a note on the plan that probably relates to your narrative. It says proposed for 5 bedrooms.
Well, then it may be that it's already for
But-
5.
but-
Whatever it is, we're not increasing the number of bedrooms.
Okay. And I guess that's all. When I was there and saw the staking, I wondered about maybe pulling back the limit of work a little bit, but I don't have a strong feeling about that.
Yeah, the only thing, if it had been something
small
other than
lot.
lawn, and it's a small lot, if I'd put it too close, you would have said, I don't think you left.
Yeah, but no, I understand it's,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, that's all, thank you.
Jamie?
No questions?
All right, I don't have any questions either.
Then I make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Betsy and Mike, did you have another comment, Betsy, I heard?
I just wanted to say what a nice display that was. You were the first one to come in with colored maps and pictures, and you finished that way. And I appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you.
it's because you said you appreciated it one time, that I always try to find a picture or two to put on the board.
Some of us are kind of visual, you know.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I have one more comment I just thought of. Barbara, you just might want to remind the applicants that that's within 100 feet of the resource and that there's no fertilizer, not Falmouth-friendly lawn.
They have Falmouth-friendly lawn.
No.
Oh.
No, yeah, Falmouth-friendly lawn, we're going to have to switch that up a little bit because
All right,
our
then
new
switch
one.
it up, put it in
Yeah.
the conditions.
Yeah, it'll be in the condition, but just
Yeah.
again, so it's not a surprise.
No,
that
I don't think it'll be a
When they go,
surprise.
what do you mean we can't fertilize our lawn?
Yeah.
At all, ever?
Okay.
That's all right. I know you're going to turn it over to the audience, but I will tell you that I'm going to send a letter to each and every one of you through Jen with some suggestions of things that you might want to switch up to.
Uh-oh.
She's retiring.
Not a problem there.
That's fine, Barbara.
Constructive
I know.
criticism
I
is a
know a
good
couple
thing.
of them you
You
want.
know a couple of the ones I want.
Yeah.
You're having a very nice night, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay, questions or comments from the public? Please come to the podium, sir, and just give your name for the recording secretary, if you would.
Okay.
When you get there, speak in the microphone, though, so she can hear you, or she can hear you.
I don't sing, so. William Manning, 131 Waterside Drive. I looked at this plan about a week ago, and I noticed that, you know, the right side setback and the left side setback have expanded, well, 18 feet on one side, and, 13 feet on one side, and I think 14 feet on the other side. So there's like 27 more feet of house. I'm kind of wondering what kind of house is going to be built.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Barbara.
Don't mind.
I can put it on the board, that way the
Yeah, that's
the
fine.
board can
Sure,
see at
yep.
the same time. These are the elevations, perhaps that might help everyone see. Here's the garage here, a sun porch,
All right.
and that's pretty much the house.
Okay. Now, how tall is the house, just out of curiosity?
Off the top of my head, I don't know if it says it.
34.
34?
I'm
34.
just guessing.
I know, because I beat them back, I never let them go the whole
I thought,
35.
oh, is it 35? I thought it was 32.
No, 35.
35, okay, yeah. The other thing, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone like this?
You can have those if you want.
Thank
We
you.
need them for the record.
Oh, need
If
it
you
for
could
the
go
record?
back to the microphone too, please, sir.
Okay.
And speak into the microphone if you would.
All right, well, let me take one.
There you go.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Today, there's a lot of shrubbery along this side of the house, not much on this side, but there are two, I think they're called Leland cypress trees that are out there that are,
Excuse me, there's 4 of them. There are 4 of them,
4 of them?
4 trees, yeah.
Oh, okay, well. And those things grow very, very large, right? So, you know, I'm looking across the street and I see this side of the house coming out here. I see these huge trees. And so basically my view,
Well, unfortunately, sir,
I realize
our
that.
concern is with, impact on the resource area.
Okay.
Views
So-
and
so-
such are under our purview. You know what I
Right,
mean?
but the question I have is, If those trees are removed, can they put other trees in there that don't grow so tall?
Only neighbors.
Yeah.
Barbara, are those trees on the neighbor's property, or?
That any trees that are on this property, and I can confirm where those railings are, because I know that you guys hate those trees to begin with. But I have talked to my clients and have told them that the entire property is in jurisdiction and they can't remove anything other than ornamentals. They've gone out of their way to locate the septic system and everything to keep that big tree in the front yard. They even have someone coming in to give it systemic medicine to keep it going. They're hand digging the septic system. So I have pretty much browbeaten my clients into the fact that they can't take down any trees on this property unless they come back for a landscape plan in front of you. So
And any tree removed would require a tree replacement.
exactly, and the unfortunate thing, even though it's in your way, I will say that one of the problems for Mr. Curios is if I were to propose, this is a bee buffer here, again, through you, Mr. Chairman, if I were to take down trees in that bee buffer, they're going to make my client plant them here.
And they don't want to do that.
You know that they don't. So, it can be negotiated out. You can put it to the side, so his view isn't impacted, but now it's going to impact the view of the people next door. So he worked very hard to not do anything that would either impact his view or impact the views of either of his neighbors on either side.
Okay.
So, but he would have to come back and file, and you would be notified as an abutter if he does any landscaping.
Okay.
I have a question. Those trees.
You're gonna, ma'am, you're gonna have to go. Thank you.
Those trees look like...
Your name?
Oh, Nancy Manning. I
Nancy.
live across the street.
Okay, thank you.
Those trees look like they're dying right now. They've all turned brown. If those trees had to be taken down, would they be able to plant a different tree? Because why would they put the same tree up if it's just going to die again? I don't understand. Somebody had mentioned they'd have to put the exact same tree up.
Well, they had to come back to us anyway,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, it could be
It's going to be a tree.
discussed.
Yeah, but
Well, it's not
Leyland's
necessarily
are
the
not
same
native.
species.
No, I understand that, but it's going to be a tree.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the exact same tree.
No,
No.
it does not have to be a Leland cypress,
Probably a
Okay.
cedar.
Okay, well, that's my question.
but it could be a cedar, or an oak, or a white pine that grow just as big, ma'am. So,
Well, I don't know.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
not Leland cypress, I think.
Did we
Yeah,
Oh, we must have actually-
made that motion.
do we already have a motion?
Yeah, we do. We must, yeah.
Okay. We can do it, yeah.
We can do it
Not much better.
I withdraw that
No
motion.
habitat.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstention, unanimous, so moved.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you, Bob.
Barbara, thank you.
Barbara,
Thank you.
good luck.
Barbara, thank you, we're gonna miss
Gonna
you.
miss you.
Yeah.
Is this your last
miss
one?
you.
Any constructive
This is her last one.
Constructive criticism is always welcome, Barbara.
Thank you.
Good night, sir.
Good night, thank you very
Thank you for
much.
coming.
Listen to her, that's,
She's dialed in.
All right, Peter and Louise Donovan, 40, well, that's been continued.
October 28th.
Yeah, Hamlin, correct, October 20.
I'll go find Mr. McGrath.
I'll find them.
Okay, next up is Heinz Penzance Point Nominee Trust. Hero Anastasios Parafastis, trustee, 152, 160 Penzance and 0 Penzance Road. It's already been read into the record. Here we go, you guys are up.
Should we warn those other people about the fine, neighbors' trees?
Hey, Mike, I'd like to take the certificate of compliance first, if that would be all right?
I agree.
Okay. So why don't we do that. Can I get a motion to table the notice?
So moved.
Second.
So we got Betsy, Mary, okay, the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions unanimous, so moved. Okay, so we'll go on to continued request for hearings on the certificate of compliance. Penzance Point Nominee Trust, care of Anastasios Parafastis, 160 Penzance Road, Woods Hole, Mass. Mike?
Even though it's listed as two separate items on the agenda, we filed one application because the trust wanted to have a global settlement. I understand that you should consider the certificate of compliance, the certificate of compliance requests first, and the description of the changes in the replication that we show on the plan. I submitted a 5-page letter with a bunch of exhibits. I trust you all have them. And so what I propose to do is go through these step by step on four. We're now going to talk about the revised wetland replication for the enforcement action first. The commission, previously we had shown the replication to be on not only on both parcels, but we also showed a portion of the replication to be on the north side of the proposed driveway. And staff said they were going to suggest to the commission that the restoration be complete and replication be complete before any other activities are authorized. And that is, we believe that's an appropriate stance. So rather than have some of the replication on the north side, we moved it to the south side. So this is similar in shape to what you saw before. If you remember, there is a geothermal well, a system of 3 wells that are driven in the ground, and while they're underneath the surface, they're very deep and very expensive. So this shape is generally the same, but it's been altered. There's a tennis court here, and so what we are showing is that we're actually going to remove the tennis court and excavate down to create a suitable wetland. This allows the upland over the geothermal well to be preserved, so there's going to be a hump. This area here is equivalent to the required area, and this got so busy I didn't put those, well, they're here, they're just not highlighted. The original wetland line, I'm sorry, I went too far. The original wetland line comes down, I'm sorry, it starts over here, comes across, comes up, and over and back down. And this surface area is the same as that surface here. I think this is 10 square feet more. So this is 9,250 square feet. The other thing we did is one of the commissioners pointed out that we should take some more area here, and there it is slightly larger in this area. And then the 2005 enforcement order included a plan that showed 13,846 square feet of replication of a buffer strip. And so we show a buffer strip running all the way along, including all of the this green area here going around. This is a electric transformer, and there's a utility post. It comes down. This is the shed that serves the geothermal wells. It includes the entire tennis court. There's a finger-like projection between a set of buffer plants that are, they're landscape buffer plants that exist here. We did file a plan that showed this to be restored also, because it says easement, but it was not obvious from the registry of deeds that an easement existed. But it turns out in one of the agreements that wasn't recorded, there is a valid easement. So for a while, we had plants in here, but we've taken those plants away. The other portion of the replicated buffer is here. So this total area of this buffer, now we're not touching this. I realize that green is a little close to this green, but that's a different green, and we're not touching these wooded areas. We're just going, I'll just trace my finger around it quickly. Down, back. I forgot where I started. And then this triangular shape over here. So the total of that area is 13,809 square feet. The original plan showed a buffer here, and then there is another buffer. Well, there's a colored exhibit that you have in your package that shows you the other resource area buffer. So we believe that this is an appropriate replication. We also filed with your, as an attachment to the letter, we point out that the shape of this creates a wildlife corridor that runs continually, and it goes diagonally across the road here, and then it also obviously connects all of this. So we did show you that on an aerial photograph. We marked that up because we think this is a significant linkage. So
And Mike, just to clarify, I don't mean to interrupt your presentation, but that buffer you were talking about in the area of the tennis court, that's to comply with the 25-1884, as
Yes.
agreed upon in the original restoration plan back in 2005.
that's right.
Thank you.
So I believe that these are, that this replication buffer and the wetland buffer is appropriate. Before, you did hear testimony from Mark Manganello about the procedure that was described by LEC. It's been several months. Do you want him to quickly recap what he described before?
Yes.
That'd be a good idea.
Mark, do you have a revised plan?
Yes, the back page of the
Oh, there's no
plan says-
revision to this back page, so it's the one that's dated August 18th?
Is that the right date, August 18th?
We have August 18th.
Yeah,
So
so-
I think that's it.
Has to be.
I just want to make sure.
That's the only one.
Yeah, I would say there were minor revisions, some of which were based on conversations we had at the last hearing about the plant list, and then some minor modifications to the configuration based on changes to the project configuration.
That's the latest plan of LEC has a revision date of 8/18.
Okay.
I will testify that it's consistent with the remainder of the project, even if the revision is wrong.
818.
I just think the plant list is wrong, but anyway, go on, Mark.
Jesse, you had something before you start marking it?
Yeah, and I'm still unclear where this 1,800 or 1,300, 890 square feet does that include any area that has invasives growing in, woody invasives growing now?
The 13,000 number that Mike just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
So you're saying that some of your restoration is actually already areas that are vegetated with woody vegetation, although it's invasive?
Yes, and actually that was the main subject of my testimony at the last hearing, was that I acknowledged that these areas are vegetated but dominated by non-native invasive species, and acknowledged that they do provide some habitat value, of course, but that the proposed improvement with natural vegetation is a significant improvement to not only the buffer but also the adjacent resource area.
Well,
Betsy, I think you need to let Mark make his presentation, because, Mark, didn't you take that off your plan, what you just said?
Parts of it we did.
Okay. And then the only part that I think would have been to the north of the driveway is where the existing driveway is, other than the hedgerow in front. that-
Right here.
no, all
Yeah.
in front of the,
Tennis
all in
court.
front of the tennis court.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a
Yeah,
strip
it is.
right here. Correct.
Okay.
And you're aware of the fact that we normally don't allow people, we'd love to have you replace invasives with
But we
natural,
don't give, you
but
don't count
that's
as
not
mitigation.
credit for
Doesn't count as
mitigation planning.
I had heard that.
Okay,
It's,
I,
yes, I was aware of that. It
Okay.
sounds like mitigation to me. It's improving on a situation that's degraded. And so, if that's the practice of the commission, it is what it is. In many other communities, we've successfully argued that that's a significant improvement to the buffer zone. And I think in this case, it is as well.
I think it'll be an improvement. I
Yeah.
just don't agree that it serves as mitigation.
Okay?
Anyway, go on.
Yes, so
Here's presentation, please.
we eliminated the same type of proposal from this area. So most of the
Yeah.
restoration is in the existing tennis court area or its existing lawn area, with the exception of the area we just discussed. So that was really the nuts and bolts of it. I did speak to square footages and some other facts about the case in the context of the history of the site, but I think most of that has been modified since then, and Mike's most recent document summarizes that accurately at this point, in my opinion.
Anything else, Mike? on this?
I have
Jen?
one question. Mark, I think I requested at the last hearing, and I know I requested in one of my meetings, or my multiple meetings with Mr. McGrath, that the Virginia rose come out of the wetland plantings. The wetland plantings, you have it both a wetland and an upland planting, and I would like to see something else besides the Virginia rose in the wetland restoration area.
Okay, we're certainly open to making a change on the plant list.
And bearberry as well, that'll have to, you have 164 bearberry.
Yeah, those are concentrated in the area around the
Got
geothermal well, so
Well, it's really kind of hard to see in
I
this
know,
area,
it
so.
looks much nicer in color, trust me. But
Well,
yeah,
I
that was to
like a color
maintain
one.
something quasi-path-like.
Okay, all right, no, I see it now, all right. And you're excavating to a depth of 2.8, so your finished grades?
Yep, I mean, there would certainly need to be construction oversight by a wetland scientist to keep an eye on the underlying soil characteristics and, make sure that the target elevation actually matches what you see in the soil profile in terms of, evidence of wetland hydrology.
Mm-hmm. That's all for right now for Mark's presentation. I understand what.
I understand what he's proposing.
Okay, Mary?
Yeah, this is a little unfair to ask of you on the spot, but can you estimate the square footage of this area that Betsy was concerned about to the west of the tennis court?
It's about.
Area that has invasives that's...
It's under 700. I just did it out. It's about 10 feet wide. and a little over, and then, but it curves down, and it's about 70 feet long, so give or take any on either end is 700.
Okay, so that's
Do you need
about
scale mark? You want to check my
5%,
numbers?
Is that right?
Sure.
Yeah. There you go.
5% of the total? That's all I have, thanks. I just wanted some perspective on that.
Yeah, it's really.
Yeah, it's just north of that area.
You all set, Lena?
Yeah, so call it 5%, so, all right.
Jamie?
I'm good.
Mike?
I guess a compelling observation on my part is that you're removing about 7,800 square feet of tennis courts.
Yeah.
You're putting in something in that is, I guess, more environmentally friendly than clay.
Quite a bit more, yes.
I think that, just speaking for myself, it shows a real commitment. It's a loss of a valuable piece of real estate. No comment.
Thank you for that.
Lori?
I guess I am gonna think on this for a minute. I'm still digesting, because one of the problems with all these nice colored maps we do have is that there's no legend to tell you which color is which. So there's just a lot of yellow and green and different colors of yellow and green, and if they had, it would have been really helpful if the light yellow or the dark yellow had a legend, because it means it's difficult to digest it all. Even last night when I looked at all of this, it was a lot. And the colors are so close, you didn't use like a darker green or blue or purple to show. So it just makes it very difficult, because this is a big project. It has a lot of detail to it. I don't know how many hours you guys spent on square footages and trading and taking away and separate lots and combined lots and blah, blah, blah. So that's what took me the longest.
Are there any areas in particular that you want us to clarify?
Well, one of them was the one that, I did write that down, that Mike ran his finger around below the hook. And I think that one was that you're not touching.
Why don't I put up what they have in front of them?
We have a lot. All right, that's the first page. Page
Now,
one.
this green, which is quite different than that green, and that green is the buffer plantings that are required.
Correct, but you change it up as you go.
No, I didn't. I
No?
used the
Okay.
same texture, color
Okay.
green,
Okay.
every time I colored.
Oh, you're such a good crayoner. Okay, so point again, Mike, just that.
This one,
Yeah.
believe me, this is the exact same green as, and that's the exact same green as far as the colors are on the one that I colored. Sometimes the Xerox machine doesn't reflect it, but to me, that shows you, the point of this was to show you all of the resource area buffers, the old wetland, and the different colors for the restorations.
Okay, I'll continue on with my,
And then the last plan, the trouble is, it does get very, there's no question, it gets very busy.
Just say, clarify this.
Yeah.
On that.
There is, if you've been to the site, there's a row of specimen conifers that are visual buffer between the Heinz parcel and this parcel.
correct.
And there's a grass strip here. So what I described is that that green is the same area as was described in the 2005
5, okay,
plan that you approved in 2009.
thank you. That was important. Thank you, Mike.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Kristen?
Well, I haven't been part of the start of this, so I'll hold my comments.
Not a problem.
A very unfair question to ask poor Kristen, jumping into the middle of this project.
But I actually have another, one question, and I think from the, I just got it today, the attorney's letter. And so I just want to make sure that, so we're mitigating from what this says. I just want to be clear.
Whoa. Wait, let me follow along.
This is his letter.
Okay, paragraph.
Actually, it's the first one, which
Okay.
is, I just had a question with the two, there are now two owners for two properties, and mitigation is gonna be for an enforcement on, I guess I'm just, I don't know how we have two different owners, two different properties, and mitigation is gonna be on two different lots. So
I
that's,
don't use the word mitigation, the
okay,
restoration.
I'm sorry, restoration, I'm sorry.
The
Correct.
restoration is going, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chip, is going to be entirely on 160.
That's all I wanna
right.
know.
No, it's all we're looking for is credit for things on one.
We're not there yet, correct?
Okay, okay,
Chip,
thank,
sorry.
well, I sort of,
No,
I'm
we're
sorry.
talking
There's no
about,
Thank you.
physical mitigation on the 152.
Okay, so
Only on
restoration is
160.
totally on one,
the restoration for the wetland violation.
Of
the
1884.
restored replicated wetland.
Yep.
Is all on
160, that's all I want to make sure.
And the
Thank you.
requirement under 1884 that was rolled into the restoration plan in 2005 is also entirely on 160.
160.
It's just, it's confusing to you because of the driveway shifting.
Correct, thank
Yeah,
you.
That's all.
Okay, I'm clear now, thank you
Okay.
for the
Richard and I
clarification,
don't know,
to
we
make
got
it clear.
Thank you, Chip.
All right, any other questions or comments from the commission?
I hate to tell you, but I'm still confused. That, where you asked what the size of that is, that looks like more than 5%.
Yeah,
That looks like 25%
no.
or 20%.
It's a roughly around 700 square feet.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, but look at it relative to where the restoration area is. It looks like more than 5%. Looks like more than 10%.
you
The
kind of have a section
restoration
triangle
area,
here.
that's
That's part of the total. I think it looks kind of like 10%, but she says 7 and she calculated it, so.
Out of 14,000, 13,000?
Yeah.
It's just
Right,
5%.
right.
What did I do with my scale?
It's a little under,
Oh, okay, you can steal it for a minute.
Right,
The other is actually
right.
20 feet.
well,
Be
I mean,
5.
But anyway,
we can't start getting to checking their measurements.
Right.
All right, you all set, Betsy?
Do you understand, Beth?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I understand all the way along. I'm just looking at what the proportions I see there.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? Before I turn this over to public, any comments from the public? All right, what is your pleasure? What is your pleasure in this?
How do you move forward with the
Well, we've got the,
certificate of compliance?
Well, I think the board needs to, I mean, because this was filed the way it was, it makes it difficult to separate it. So you have to open up your other one because you're going to have to make a decision on this application, which is wrapping the compliance and the enforcement into it. So you can.
so you want to do them both? I thought it was to get the compliance straightened
Yeah,
out.
but I mean, you
And then-
can't, you have to close a hearing on the compliance and take it under advisement and then deal with the other one.
Right.
That's what I want to know.
Okay, that's
No.
fine.
So, Mike, are you making a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
I didn't get that motion.
Close the hearing.
To close the hearing on the certificate of compliance with the expired order of condition.
No, on the certificate, expired order of conditions and on the enforcement action.
You're correct.
And then I just had one last question.
And then Mary has the second on that,
Yep.
and then Maury has a question.
And Betsy, you asked a question about the invasives being calculated.
Correct.
Correct. So can I defer that to Jen?
What?
Because it wasn't answered. The representative answered it. He said that in other towns, they've accepted that it's an improvement. But I just want to be clear that invasives, that we use that area as a calculation for restoration when it's already vegetated.
This board has never,
We've never
has
allowed
never
that.
accepted the removal of the area that is currently populated by invasives to be removed and put mitigation plantings in there. Is that your question?
Yes.
No, that's not a practice this board has ever accepted. You encourage the removal of invasives, but as far as a swap, no.
Okay, so that 700 square feet that's currently vegetated is being used in the calculations.
That's what they're proposing.
Okay.
Could I ask a question on the Archibald order on Associates Road? Did you allow him to do that?
I would have to go back and check. I can't tell you off the top of my head. That was back in what?
2 mistakes don't make it a right.
But Mike, can I just ask you a question that's related to this? Actually, Mark.
Yeah.
So, I know you haven't gotten to the next lot yet, to talk about the next lot, but you said that doesn't count as mitigation? That got taken off the table for this particular issue?
Yes.
What is going to happen? Are you going to do anything with that? Because that is all invasives, just like down below.
To the north?
Yeah.
But we don't have any proposal to do anything there.
So you're going to leave all those invasives there and remove it just down below?
Well, yeah, well, we were discouraged from doing that as any type of mitigation, so.
Well, I'm just saying, usually when people remove mitigation, they like mitigation. Remove invasives, they remove all the invasives from an area and then have to maintain that area. I'm just pointing that out. I mean, it's not like they're all going to be removed.
Like Bernstein's and...
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
It isn't a question, it was a statement.
Oh. Okay.
It was a statement, just saying, as you might explain to somebody, that there's a big seed bank of invasives right upstream from where you're disturbing all this earth. And
So
you might think
it
if you
does
don't,
make sense to me.
if you're not careful, you're going to have a lot more invasives downstream.
I'm sure we'll have a monitoring protocol as part of this process, and we'll have to ensure there are no invasive species in the replication and restoration areas.
All right.
That's how you learn.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the matter of the Commission's practice with regard to mitigation plantings. And if I understand the terminology here, mitigation in that context is specific to projects that involve work in the buffer zone. So mitigation is a form of compensation is not the right word, but it's an exchange for work that's been done elsewhere on the property. In this context here, I don't believe it fits that same definition. This is an area that was historically
Actually,
disturbed.
it's for the mitigation for the construction of the house addition that was put onto the seawall project, so this board could grant occupancy for the house. So the mitigation was tied into the house construction. The applicant wanted occupancy. The commission was nice enough to transfer that requirement to DEP number 251884. And that's why it's there. So it is mitigation for a project that was done way before my time. So,
But now it's being restored.
but it's mitigation though, Chip. So
But
it
it was mitigation, but now it's being restored.
you're blending the, no.
You're gonna have to, if you're gonna get into this, you're gonna have to come up to the podium.
You're
Market
mixing the words up. Mitigation is a requirement. They wanted to put, I believe it was a house addition on. They were required to put the mitigation in. They did not do that. They did not do it in accordance with the order of conditions, which is why it was put into the original restoration plan for the disturbed wetland. We wrapped the old compliance issues into that, as well as replicating or restoring the old wetlands. So no, it is not restoration, Mr. Nyland. Attorney Nyland, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. It was a requirement of an order years ago.
Right, it does fit the definition of mitigation.
Yes.
So I was wrong about that, but it is, in a broader context, restoration of a historically disturbed buffer area. That's my point.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying it for them.
Mr. Chairman, this strip of land is a very large hedge. Your definition of 1018 talks about a naturally vegetated buffer. So when I look at a hedge, I don't consider that to be a naturally vegetated buffer. It's not a natural.
We were just told that it's a complex of invasives, which unfortunately is,
Mostly privet.
which is
But
unfortunately
overgrown, I call it
naturally.
an overgrown hedge.
That's a hedge.
All right,
That's all.
we ready to do something here? You guys ready?
Yeah, so the quorum for this vote
Yep.
is Jamie, Mary, Russ, Mike,
And
Maury.
Yeah, but you're closing it and taking it under advisement.
I know, but they're taking
We have to
the
vote to
Okay.
close
They're
it,
taking the
though.
vote, so I'm just saying who can vote.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. Okay, now we'll move on to the notice.
Move on to what?
The
Notice of
notice.
intent.
Notice.
On table.
Oh, yes.
Would we?
Second.
You know,
Second.
figuring-
Mike, yeah.
Mike made a motion to untable, Betsy seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved. All right.
It's hard to know what to unfold. There's so much room.
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt for a sec? A couple of you. Your hearing was closed, so you're welcome to stay.
Oh, Leo, I didn't see you come in. I'm sorry. We finished your hearing long ago.
Oh, RDA?
But no, it was the Eel Pond.
Yeah, he was
Eel
Eel
River.
River.
Eel River,
Yeah.
oh.
Good, Mike.
I didn't realize we cut in front of somebody.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
No.
It was closed
He came
before
late.
he arrived.
He came late.
We're just
Trying to help
speeding
them don't
tonight.
have to hang around. All right.
I have, again, I'm going to read from my letter, and you had 11 by 17 colored plans. And basically, this is an overall picture, and then there's a graphic like that that I'll talk about a little bit more. The activities that were shown on the plan were, at 160, we were going to move the driveway. We were going to extend this wall. I described the purpose of this wall was there was a coastal storm event that the water came across here and then flowed into the garage. So the purpose of this wall is to basically prevent storm damage prevention by, we picked an elevation on the ground that was sufficient, we thought, to protect this lower garage. There's a double garage and then a single garage door there. The other thing that we were doing at the same storm, water came in through this lower door. I don't know if you've been to the site, hopefully you have, but underneath this arch, there's this arc-like structure is actually a cantilevered porch, but in the face of this, underneath, there is a door, and that same storm event, water came through the door. So what this does is this proposes a stone wall. There's 4 steps up and 4 steps down. We talked about this before, but it's been so long. The other thing that this is slightly different than what we proposed before was that we had shown an impervious area right in here. But what actually happens is that this floor is the same elevation as the porch. And the thought was that people that using this spar, which we've called a pool, instead of coming into the formal room, they could come into the covered porch. So all this does is allows, this is going to be a flat terrace that's set at this elevation of the finished floor, and it's actually going to be slightly taller than what exists today. Over here, there's going to be a terrace outside this door, and then this is we've been labeling as a pool, but it's really it's like a spa. He has a design of it, and there's steps to sit in, and this is at an elevation that's higher than this ground. There's an extension of the wall all the way around, and this is a terrace. The notice of intent is signed by both trusts, and there's also, on 152, he's going to make this house significantly smaller. There is 2 cesspools that are located approximately in this area, and we filed to the Board of Health, and we got approval to connect this to the existing innovative system here. This innovative system is called a stacked ruck, and what we agreed with the Board of Health is that we would connect the flow from here into this system. This system was sized for 9 bedrooms. This has only got 6 bedrooms, and so when we do that, this was an early version of the ruck system where we separated the gray water. The gray water provides carbon for denitrification. To get denitrification, you need carbon. And there's carbon in the ground, in the gray water. We're going to supplement that carbon with a carbon feed. We've been doing carbon feeds on residential rucks for a very long time. We guarantee 80% removal minimum. And the bottom line is that when we add the carbon, the Board of Health says we have to increase the performance to at least 19 milligrams per liter, but we should be better than that. The other thing that we're doing is that this seawall, if you've been to the site, is, the bottom line is we provided plans that show that this is going to be rebuilt, and then there's going to be a taller seawall along here. Currently, there's a gap where the people from here could walk over into, and they apparently use that, but they don't have rights to it, so we've agreed to block that. This wall has been adjusted slightly because they have, on their right-of-way, they have an electric panel there. So, anyways, the owner of that trust signed the notice of intent because this wall will be on the property line to some point in here and then veer off in order to not disturb his utilities. The plan shows that along here, we might disturb some of the wetland plants, so there's wetland replication here. Over here, we're taking out a shed and we're showing more buffer plants in this area. The owner would like to have this planting have a sweep to it, so he's asking to take out this small finger-like projection of the wetlands and replicate it over in this area. This area is 830 square feet. This area is 830 square feet. So we filed one notice that described all of the activities on the site, including the replication and restoration. The staff has suggested that you want this constructed first, and we've agreed with that. Constructed meaning it's graded, the plants are installed under LEC's approval, and then we will only when the commission inspects it that we can then go forward with the other work. Additionally, there's been a change in that when we were at the site, the salt marsh has grown sort of dramatically. So the plans you have show the existing salt marsh. The driveway route was changed slightly, not a lot. During the first hearings, it was pointed out that this ground felt soggy. It turns out they were irrigating. So I had them shut off the irrigation. I went back in a week and it was much firmer than it was before. So I did adjust it slightly, but not that you would see it's 2 or 3 feet different than this location. The whole design of this is that the owner is saying that if he's going to spend this kind of money, he wants to get privacy. So no matter where you are in this point, once you build this driveway and you construct these hedges, you will not see his house. He has, he wants more privacy than what he has right now. Right now you can see the house, you can tell if he's there, and he doesn't want that anymore. So the whole point of designing this curve was to provide the privacy. I described before that this is elevated higher than the driveway is today. If you've been there after rainstorm, there's puddles in here, and this is elevation 5 versus I think that's elevation 4 there. I'm not worried about settlement because once it's, I've dealt with some very soft soils someplace south on Penzance, and we managed to deal with that without any adverse consequences. When we were out on the site, we noticed that this was depicted wrong in that there was a path here that wasn't shown. So this plan has been revised to show that path. That path has been existed the whole time. Now, impervious areas. You have a chart like this. I don't know if you can see the chart.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Why don't we just take that off of there for the moment, so we don't have to
That's this one?
Great.
Yeah, I think.
The one thing I've done is I've indicated the resource area A is a resource area B, and the entire site is basically resource area. Only 3% of its entire land is outside the resource area buffer. So we have a very unique site that with an awful lot of wetland resources. So what I did here is I color-coded this to try and show what depict the changes. What I did was the brown show increases in impervious areas, and the yellow show decreases in impervious areas. So basically there's, what I also did was I calculated the area in the different zones. We start here, there's 490 square feet in B, then there's stairs over here, 42 square feet in A. The pool and terraces, 1,250 square feet in A and 222 square feet in B. The walls and this wall and those stairs to protect this house from the floodwaters is 175 square feet. There's 38 square feet in A and 98 square feet in B here. The driveway is 1,554 square feet in A and 849 square feet in B. the reductions, there's slight removals at the two, if you go out to the site, there's two round flagstone landings. He's going to take those out. He's going to remove this house. This house is going to remove 1,958 square feet, and he's going to put back 1,040 square feet. He's going to add some stairs here so that you can walk down from the upland right down onto the beach. That's an additional 56 square feet. We added a wall here. I found that there is a discernible and continuous wall to some point here. Then there's a discernible wall here. I went down with a probe, and I found that this wall was basically sunk, so that there is a continuous wall there. The former owner told us that that wall was continuous, and a portion of it has sunk. The new design shows it to be supported by the small mini pilings. So we have a removal of a walkway here. That there's a little 4-foot walkway. We're replacing with a 3-foot walkway. There's a portion of these stairs that's over the historic water line. This house is one of the first houses that ever got a Chapter 91 license because it was built over the historic water line of 1898. And so we're going to remove the portions of the house that are over the historic water lines. We're going to remove the shed of 72 square feet, and there's 2,053 square feet of pavement that we're going to remove. We're going to remove this driveway of 1,508 square feet. We're going to remove the retaining wall that's in here and a very small portion of the pool that's not within the proposed replication of the buffer zone. So I did not count twice or try and take in account the surface area of the tennis court except where it's underneath the future hedge. So then I put all of it together on a chart where, and the bottom line is that I believe that we have 58 square feet less impervious area. I added both because we thought that it was appropriate. So the bottom line is we do not believe we need any replication area. However, there is a small replication area here of 63 square feet, and then there's a small buffer here. I'm sorry, I call it replication, it's buffer. There's a small buffer here of 63 square feet, and there's a small buffer here of 198 square feet, so there is some additional buffer. We've had several meetings. I think I would refer to Mr. Nyland's. I did comment about that obviously both trusts filed at the same time. Both trusts are in effect working together. We did propose to put them under one ownership. However, given the vagaries of zoning, the zoning opinion advised them not to put them under the same ownership because if there was a mistake made, we could lose the ability to build this structure. And since he paid $4.25 million for that parcel, we did not wish to take in that risk. However, they're I stuttered when I was a kid, so once in a while I get overcome. They're linked no matter what, because no matter what, there is a shared approval for the septic system. That is very significant. That's been already recorded at the registry. It was approved by the Board of Health. There's actually 2 approvals because there's 2 parcels. No matter what, you can't get to this unless you basically traverse over lot 1, the land at 160. He has described this as even though he's identified as a one-bedroom studio. It's going to be a single-family dwelling under zoning, so he has described to me that these guests will get there by golf carts, but there is plenty of parking here for whoever comes to visit him. I've seen as many as 10 cars easily in that site. So there are easement rights from this trust over 160, so they are linked. I still say you should be looking at the entire shape of this parcel when you consider it, especially since, this is very valuable land. The town GIS lists 160 as $8.4 million, and the assessed valuation for 152 Penzance Road is $3.9 million. I've left off I've rounded up to the nearest 100,000. All around the frontage of 160 is an impervious concrete wall. And this is a solid barrier, and it stabled the landform. Jennifer called me in Friday and said that she didn't think that we could satisfy the requirements of 1018 that basically says you cannot increase impervious area any landward of, I forget what your...
It's called the present primary structure. Right.
Present primary structure.
Yes.
So I would ask the commission to consider my testimony now concerning that. You don't have a definition of present primary structure. I went out and I looked at this joint right here, and the stones that make up the walls are interwoven. I don't have enough photographs for everybody, but I can give you a few photographs.
It's all the same?
No, those two are slightly different to show. Maybe I do have enough. Because I only have...
Well, I just want to put them in the record, so.
Yeah, there's two different ones. If you look at the big rectangular, the rectangular granite one is cropped at the top and one's not. So there's two. And when you look at them on the ground, those walls are interwoven. So you could actually find that the walls are part of the principal structure. They have been there, as far as I can see, for a very, very long time. I first went out to the site in the 70s, and they existed then. The other point is, I have some notes. I went to the site after the rainstorm yesterday. It was a very significant rainfall, at least at my office. Let's put it this way. I observed the rainfall in my office was very significant. So I went to the site, and on in the portion of the site, right in here, there are things we call drain pipes. I labeled them as scuppers in this description. And although I might have quite a few copies. I have photographs of the scuppers that I took yesterday. Then I found some those are the same ones, Betsy.
Yeah, I'm sending them down.
Yeah. All right. And I have one here that shows the wall, circa 1996, I think. I'm sorry, I don't seem to have any more of that one at the moment.
Here. Yeah.
I only have one of the one that shows all the scuppers.
They're flappers.
No, I do, I have
So
more.
water goes in and water
I
can't.
have more. I have two more.
It goes all the time.
Mike's gonna give it.
Both these two. Jen, do you want to see these two?
I saw water coming out of these scuppers. These scuppers are below the elevation of the marsh, so they're draining groundwater. So the first thing is that it appears to me that there's a significant volume of water that drains from the site into the wetland and then through the scuppers based on the quantity of water that's going there. I looked on this side, and I especially looked here because there appears to have been some kind of exchange, but I did not see moving water on this side. The reason that I then focused on this side was that I believe that that the water flows either underneath the wall and up, or it flows down and through these scuppers. When I look at the rust that is shown on the photographs 1996, they're currently not that rusty at the moment. The movement of iron in the groundwater is a telltale sign that denitrification has occurred in upstream, in this case under this wetland. When the Pilgrims came to New England, they made tools, and the way they made tools was they harvested bog iron. I have discovered bog iron in Quissit when there was an erosion event several years ago. I think it was the Halloween storm, and we found bog iron. So I've also created iron in a place I didn't want iron, so I know all about iron. When you have a highly anaerobic conditions, the bacteria actually will release iron in the soils. It'll move to the point where it reaches an aerobic or oxygen, and then it will turn to rust. So right now, this rust is not obvious, but it's been obvious in the past. If you go to here and you look in the bottom, there's a faint streak of rust all along here. That most likely is this fluid moving in this direction. There is no question there's iron there. There's a paper that's pretty fascinating about movement of iron in our groundwater in Wacoit by a scientist named Charette. So the combination of the systems here, we have an impervious wall, we have basically a circumstance where there's substantial treatment for the runoff that's coming here. I believe that we have created a very good system to protect the waters of Great Harbor. If you think about nitrogen, there's two sources of nitrogen. There's surface runoff, that's dissolved organic, and then there's inorganic that's in the groundwater. And I think between the combination of the various things here, there's very little inorganic nitrogen that seems to be reaching the waters of this harbor. If you walk around this, it's it's a sandy bottom. There's no indication, like I see often, of any kind of nutrient runoff. So I believe also that the purpose of your buffer is to prevent nutrients from reaching the wetland. In reality, in my opinion, it should be nutrients reaching the estuaries. But in any case, I believe that we have created a circumstance where we don't have to worry about the nutrients. Obviously, there's going to be no erosion or sedimentation into the Great Harbor from this side, and there's obviously the seawall itself protects the landform. And I can't help but think, I mean, I have a photograph of the seawall. I'm not sure everybody knows, but this seawall is a very substantial structure. I now want to, well, I guess I don't. I have a couple of photographs of the seawall. Yeah, I only have a couple. But you've all been there, I'm sure. Here's another one.
So I'm saying that's a very newly pointed wall. That was already totally new.
So I believe that, that when you look at this, you could come to a conclusion that the construction of this impervious area in an area that's covered with landscaping and lawn, that we're not going to have an adverse impact on the water quality of Great Harbor. In the original filing, I also gave you a nitrogen loading calculation using the Cape Cod Commission model. I used, for the final discharge, I used 25. The board, for the existing conditions, I used 60 for this, most likely it's 80. The raw nitrogen in residential septic systems is 80. I used 60 because I didn't have any data. I basically split the 50 in this, well, I just made it 60. I also thought there might be old plumbing here. But in any case, there are 2 cesspools here, and obviously we're doing away with it. But when I did the existing nitrogen loading, and then I did the proposed, we're reducing the nitrogen load significantly. And I believe that if you look at the entire project, I think that this is obviously a much better project. I think we've improved everything, and I would refer you to on the last page. I put a summary of all the positives, the benefits of the project. Obviously, we filed voluntarily to fix the unresolved issues on the site. We've demonstrated clearly a willingness to meet with the commission. You know, we've met with the staff several times. We've met with the commission. You know, so I believe we've been responsive. We've applied to replicate the altered wetlands all on 160 as you asked. We filed to restore and enhance wooded buffers all on site. We filed to we show that we're reducing the actual nitrogen load in the Great Harbor by removing a 3-bedroom house, replacing it with a 1-bedroom house, and reducing the volume of the septic wastewater. We filed plans with the Board of Health and to improve the performance of the stack ruck and to connect the new buildings. We're adding a micro-sieve feed to the stack ruck system, and so that will increase the performance of the stack ruck. We have lowered the entire nitrogen load by 1/3. The estimated total nitrogen loading to the groundwater is an estimated 2.2 milligrams per liter using the Cape Cod Commission model, using the actual nitrogen loading. That is less than the generally accepted threshold for the maximum safe nitrogen loading into an estuary, which is 3 milligrams per liter. We reduced the impervious area by the removal of the tennis court. We have reduced the total impervious area of the entire site. We have removed cesspools, which are causing potential bacterial contamination. And we're replaced with the 152 structure with a smaller structure that does not encroach over mean high water. I forgot to describe one of the changes more completely. The current floodplain shows this at elevation 17. We originally proposed to elevate the structure, but when the trust came to realize that the finished floor is going to be 15 feet in the air, they thought that was an extraordinary, ugly result. So they've proposed to reduce the building, and this assessed valuation is almost $1 million. So they're going to basically only spend half the market value on that, and they're going to use the existing finished floor. There is a proposal going to go in to reduce this floodplain, but the lowest we could get was 14. Across the harbor, for instance, the 100-year floodplain in the middle water is 11, and then it's 12 at the fisheries. I have no idea how it could be 17, but so be it. I believe that if you consider everything we're doing, we've worked hard to try and get this to a point where you would understand and have a project you could approve. Mark's here to answer any questions, as well as Mr. Nyland. Mr. Nyland's here especially about we filed with one application. While it's under two different trusts, obviously they're cooperating together. And so we hope that you will approve the project.
Jen?
Okay, just a few things just a recap. I mean, Mike did a pretty good job an excellent job of describing what they want to do. The pool and the spa area is new, the walls are new. A couple of things the board's going to have to consider when you deliberate is whether or not, one, you feel that the case has been made that those walls are part of the original foundation of the house and therefore constitutes the present primary structure, or if that is exceeding it, like it's been in the reg since 2008. And the fact that the global concept of this property is to use the reduction, or this peninsula is to use the reduction of 152, the impervious reduction of 152, and apply it to 160. Mike, I have two questions. How much dewatering do you anticipate? I mean, what's the lowest what's the elevation of your spot?
I want to refer to the fiscal plan.
Okay. The only reason I asked, Mike, this is where I'm going. Move your dewatering basins. I mean, you're talking about all this protection of the resource areas, and then you have your dewatering basins like right up against the resource area. So, you know, you could put it in the driveway. I don't know.
On the original,
I mean, what plan am I?
page 6.
Page 6? Okay, so,
I guess he didn't show the foot, but the bottom line is the groundwater is 2.5. So perhaps I did put the dewatering in because I thought that some of the footings would be, well, let's put it this way. This wall.
Mike, can you move the dewatering basin?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. That's
This
all I
wall
really
may-
need to know.
Yeah, but I'm trying to answer the question as an engineer. This wall will probably require dewatering.
Okay,
A portion of this wall will probably require dewatering.
okay.
That's why I put them there. If you want me to move them,
Yes,
it's simple enough.
that would make me happy.
Is that all?
Oh, no, you still haven't addressed everything else we've talked about in our last 5 meetings, but
Well, you were ahead.
you just always have to.
I've never learned to quit.
No, you don't. You never learn. Okay,
Oh, no, I just want to clarify. They pump, so I mean,
yeah,
I guess we could put it in the driveway. There's a gap.
thank you. I'm quite familiar with dewatering activities after witnessing what's going on down in the Heights, so.
Probably much more so than you
Yes.
ever wanted to do.
So I mean, Mike, you pretty much thoroughly covered it. Although I thought at the last meeting you and I had, they weren't going to do the little finger projection. They took that off the table. But the filling in of that other little wetland area on 152. So that's back on. I could have sworn it, like last week you said it was off.
The trust would like you to approve that if you can see a way, because he believes that this is equal to that, and this makes a much better wetland than the finger-like projection.
I could
So-
suggest a different route and still have a sweep.
Okay. All right, so
No, you're not on the quorum, so.
does the board have any, that's all I have to say. I don't have any questions. I'm very, very familiar with this project and what is being done and what is being proposed and what is being calculated. So just to recap, it's swapping of the impervious surfaces from 152 to 160, the moving closer to the primary structure, the connection of the septic, Mike, and that little piece of buffer up in there, and then all the removal of the impervious surface on 152. Okay, I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mike?
Oh, and the moving of the driveway.
And this is, it's all around the driveway for the first question. Where is the water line coming into this building, coming to this property?
I don't know, I believe it's under the, I believe that the utilities are,
So are you going to construct a wetland on a replication area on top of the driveway, on top of the water line? So you're going to be coming back to us in the future to tear out the bush and put in the water line? I mean, if that's what we're doing, I just want to know.
If you don't think that the utilities ought to be under that, then we'll move the utilities.
Well, now you're back to my other point. You're going to move the utility into a road that's likely to subside because you're adding fill to make it come in. I mean, let me ask you more. This little area you're filling, what's the purpose of that filling? I mean, Mike, there's a little bit of a emotional touch here in that all this came about because someone was filling a wetland, and now you're coming in and telling me you want to fill in a wetland. And it doesn't, it just, I have an emotional, not an intellectual response to that. Now, why are we doing this?
Well, if the commission doesn't want that shown on the plan, I'll submit revised plans to take it off.
No, Mike, about, I said a good 70% of the projects come before us. I look at them and I go, got the idea. About 15%, somebody comes in and they have this much better idea than I would have had, and I say, wow. And there's about 15% of the projects come before us where I look at it and I go, what the hell is this? And if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt. I mean, let it be in the 15% and be there. But there's a history on this project, and I get this awful feeling that there's something going on that I don't understand. And before I raise my hand and say yes, I'd like to know what that something is. Because I'm pretty much with you, Mike. I think this overall, your global concept, it's going to be better than it was before you did it. So I'm on board, but it's the details that bother me.
Well, I have been as honest as I can, is that I drew a series of sight lines that went to prove to the client that you could not see the house from the pavement. So that's the purpose of constructing
That's
the
a
bridge.
visual.
It's a visual impact. What he basically said to me is,
I'm
my
on board.
goal,
I like that. Now I understand that.
if I'm going to do all this work, I want to, and I'm going to do the work, then I would like to have this driveway shifted so that they don't see the house. I have to tell you.
Fine, you've given an answer that I know. I feel better already. Now, why are we filling in this little corner? I don't, what do we gain? What do you lose?
It would be easy for me to repeat. If you don't want that filled, I'll take it off the plan.
It is what it is, Mike. That's what's before you, to make a decision.
Well, I am a firm believer that I, as a commissioner, the board as a whole, if an applicant has a reasonable request and it's within the regulations, then so be it. But I just don't, I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around why I deny it or why I'd approve it. It just seems like an oddity, and I'm back to, here I am.
Like that little
And if you
wetland
can't answer
area.
it, we can put it in, we can come back and tell about it.
What, that little wetland area they're proposing to fill in, that 830 square feet, what will it become?
It'll become up.
Lawn?
This will become upland. I showed,
Mike, what is it going to be vegetated with, lawn or bushes?
no, a portion of it was shown on one of the plans is buffer plants, and then this was the
Which plant is that
wetland
one?
replication.
Do we even have a landscape plan? I've never seen a landscape.
Because I don't see the buffer part of it, I just see filling in the wetland, and I think Mike's trying to figure out what it's going to become, and then what's the reason for it. Oh, I do see a little bit of buffer in there on LEC's plan on page 8. Oh, look, Bearberry again. Thank you. I'm just teasing you about the Bearberry, Mark, I really am. You're going to have the Bearberry, and I think you have beach along there.
The owner describes that he'd like to see a line through here of vegetation. That was his goal, but I can understand that it's, thinking like projection of wetlands, they were allowed to be filled, but
So Mike, the other part of it, it's going to be lawn though. So you have the little portion of it, like about a quarter of it, it'll look maybe a little bit more, between a quarter and a half, and it's not quite a half, but that's going to be proposed buffer with 6 bayberries, beach plums, and some barberry, and then the rest of it is proposed to be lawn, correct?
right. But
Okay.
obviously, if you don't agree with that, you can condition the plans.
I don't think
or
they're
you
saying
can
they agree
instruct
or
me
not.
to
They're
bring
just
in the
saying-
revised plan.
They want to know what it's going to become.
I've had my 2 cents.
So that you're saying that has to do with the visual? Trying to block the...
This,
Yes.
or this.
The suite.
Yeah, 'cause he
No,
wants-
no,
This
no, that
suite.
little block, no, the little
No.
fill,
No,
Wetlands.
that's
but
his,
you said that's the line of...
that's
so-
what he wanted, was to have a line of vegetation across.
Okay, and that's to protect the...
No, that's just,
nothing
That's
at
just a
all.
visual.
Aesthetic.
Okay,
It's
Well, just,
aesthetic.
right.
okay, right. Mike, you all set?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I understand more than I did when I started.
All right, Lori?
I hope I'm as successful. Mike, I was reading the narrative for the septic, and if you just clarify, what is the current number of bedrooms in 160 right now?
6.
Okay. And 152 had 3, and now it's going to be 1.
That's right.
So there'll be a total of 7 bedrooms on the 2 sites, and it's designed for 9.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. That was easy. Do we have the Board of Health permits and recordings in the file?
I know I gave you the approvals.
We need those in the file. If you
I
state them, we
delivered them
need
a long
them.
time ago, but if you want more, I'll give you more.
Do-
I don't, that file's huge, Maureen, I'd have
Okay.
to go out and check. If not,
Okay.
I'm sure Mr. McGrath can
Okay.
supply me with the approvals.
I am sure he could.
Right? Thank
Yes.
you, Mike.
Okay. Are you removing any lawn anywhere on these 2 sites to create a buffer along the edge of the Great
Well,
Harbor?
yes, because there's lawn in here.
I'm not talking
There's-
about that. I'm talking about the 152 and 160.
Yes,
Keep the
Okay.
notice
There
of
are-
intent part separate from the
I don't-
certificate of compliance
Right.
part. That's
I don't want
more
to see
getting
that.
at.
The compliance is over with.
Oh.
That's below us now.
There's some incidental lawn here, a little bit there,
Wait, no,
covered by impervious areas
On 160.
on 160.
okay. Do you know what the square?
There's a little bit of square footage of lawn in here and here that is going to be removed.
All right, that's not what I asked. I think I asked, all right, I did ask that. So now, how many square footage of lawn is currently on the site?
I'd have to go back to the first nitrogen loading, right? I did measure that. I don't have.
I know you had the calculations for the nitrogen from the septic.
No, on that nitrogen loading
Okay.
calculation is the measured area of lawn on.
And what it generates. How much nitrogen the lawn itself generates into
Right.
the system.
Now, out here, it's not going to be the same as a lot in Hatchville in that there's, the topsoil out here is very thick. We're talking about. It's been a long time since I dug a test pit, but it was, my recollection was close to.
Couldn't have been that long, because you, if I'm looking at the septic, let's see when you did the perk test for the septic.
I did that in 2005. No, I did that before, 1990 something. And the test pits were in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
I
actually,
did, I described how I did test pits all over the place. And I described how they're all impermeable. You asked me for copies, I looked, I only could find one.
yeah.
But it was not done by it was done by an engineer who, in those days, he could just put down material, but he wasn't a soil scientist, so I didn't think it was very valid.
So
And-
on what
but
page is the perk test?
There's no perk test because we didn't have to do a perk test because we're tying into a soil absorbent system that's already been sized under the current Title V. I didn't have to do any more perk test.
Okay. So you're not even curious about what's there? All right.
I know
guess-
what's there, I saw.
Well, when you dig it, you'll find out, so that's.
No, wait, I saw what was here. There's sand under this. This is the only sand in the whole peninsula.
Okay, well, you just told me there was all clay there. So anyway,
No,
okay,
that's
let's
the only
move on,
place that the
onward,
sand is.
onward.
I don't see.
All I
this
have
in
to
the
do
file.
is, I'm sure there
It's
is.
okay, I'm sure we can get them from Holmes McGrath.
All
I'll
right.
make a note.
You do know, Mike, after I've been out at that lawn, that you do know that we have a bylaw in this town that there's no irrigation or fertilizing within a resource area in the town of Falmouth. So I just want,
That's a brand new bylaw.
I
Yes.
just want your client to understand this so that when we make our findings and we deliberate, that they're not shocked that that can't be fertilized or irrigated anymore. And actually, you proved a point that by not irrigating it, it stopped being spongy, so that's a good thing. One kind of rub I had was the biggest one really is the entire pool is in the Falmouth Wetland B zone. So I don't remember us ever permitting pools in it. I mean, yes, we have. I take that back.
No, you have, because.
We have, oh yes, we have, out on
Right
Chapcoit
up
Island,
here.
a whole bunch of them. So all right, so that just, it still bothers me. And what is the groundwater, the depth to groundwater at the bottom of that pool?
This guy, the groundwater is at approximately 2.5.
All right, well, actually, in your septic, you said it was at 1.3. Which I don't know how you found that out, because there's no perk test, but the
No.
groundwater at 2.5, you stated, septic
I-
detail states observed groundwater at 1.3. So which is it? Because the scuppers, I would say, are probably, looking at the water that you just said is coming from the ground and going out through the scuppers, that the scuppers are discharging groundwater, am I correct? That's
Yes.
what you stated? Okay.
And I bought
And-
that scale.
And to know what the depth to groundwater is for all your dry wells, so that you're not putting the dry wells in groundwater. Or the pool.
I'm pretty
Or the
sure-
foundations.
I'm pretty sure the spa's going groundwater.
Yeah.
I'm sure the spa is going in groundwater, I'm sure all the
That's why I
foundation
asked
is gonna
about the
be.
dewatering.
And the foundation is probably gonna have to be, it's gonna be in groundwater.
Yes, the bottom of the spar scales from this to be elevation 2. I will adjust the bottom of this spot. So it's above the county groundwater. When we did the perk test in 1997, we did a perk test, we found sands in here.
Okay, so there is a perk test on file down in Board of Health.
Yes,
In
1997. There's sands underneath this area. Every place else
said
was compact.
2005.
Mike, what was the date of the perk test?
Glacial too.
I don't remember.
Well, you said 2005 and 2007, so it's somewhere in there.
No, it was
You just said
1997,
97 is what you just said.
I believe is when it was.
Now it's 1997.
97.
Okay,
Thank
all right.
It was when the trust bought it. Hold on.
Yes.
The notice of intent and order conditions was 1997 that authorized the construction of the rock system.
Okay.
So the perk test was prior to that. The plans were April 30th, 1997.
Okay, thank you. That's-
We're doing high water, that's up to 97.
She had a question.
I have,
I'm all done.
2 questions.
Thanks, Mike.
The first one has to do with the driveway, that, the curve in the driveway. Originally, the driveway where it currently stands is between 2 wetlands.
Correct,
So
Right.
you're curving it on top of one of the wetlands?
correct.
And that's just so that the people who are driving by don't see his house?
Correct.
Is there a possibility of putting plantings in instead so that the people who drive by during the summer don't see his house?
If you stand here, this drive, see the driveway, it's a straight shot.
How about if you
Curve it when you're,
curve it up,
curve it.
instead of filling that wetland?
Currently, it goes between 2 priority
Instead of restoring
habitat
that
wetlands, and I'm not sure why you're, I just don't understand why you would put it on top of a wetland, first of all, because it, the sogginess and whatnot, when it's already there. And, how many people are out on Penzance Point driving by? Yeah, really. That you should be able to put some plantings in that would give him some privacy.
I don't know how to, we have to put some kind of curve in it in order to do.
Put it.
Mike, you don't have to, your client would like you to.
What if you didn't restore that wetland there? Replicate that wetland? Can't you curve across that?
I'm having a hard time visualizing what you're saying.
You see the orange wetland, not the lower one, the upper one.
On 152?
But that's on 152.
That's on 152.
We're not, all, everything's on,
So you're trying to move the driveway off of 152?
No, it's not on 152, and it's hugging the property boundary.
Okay.
It's just really difficult to see.
If it's all the same property, why does it have to be?
It's not.
It's not all the
It's
same.
not on the same property.
No, I
Separate
understand,
owners.
I understand that they're 2 separate properties, but it's one driveway to those 2 properties, isn't it?
Well, the bend
Sure.
could be closer up to the house to make it, and then landscape both sides of the bend, and it would obscure the.
Existing driveway right there. Right, so there's 2 wetlands here.
Yeah, and the filled wetland from back way back.
Mike, the other question, how about a gate?
That's the filled wetland.
So what? I don't understand why
A screen gate? I'm just throwing it out there, because that's one of the problems, that's one of the things that bugged me about this plan also, was the curve into the wetland. You got this driveway, yeah, you need to make an adjustment here or there, because I did see some washout when I went down there today.
yes.
I know what you're talking about, but I mean, it's pretty firm, throughout. Now you're gonna move it into,
Right.
and so,
Filled wetland.
I was there today, it was literally about 2 inches from really soggy area. And also there today was the irrigation guy who told me confirmed that, yes, this has all to do with the rain, and he said the irrigation hasn't been on in quite a while. I'm just here draining everything.
Well, to be blunt, if you walked over here, it's soft over
I
here,
did
too.
walk, I know.
That's up, no matter what.
Right, I'm just saying, it's not about the irrigation being on.
Would you like me to move the drive? I would still like to have a curve in it, so he gets it, so he doesn't, so he preserves his, or gets more privacy, because he's giving up an awful lot of value here, and it would seem to
It's a
be.
wetland.
I don't have a problem.
Can we-
You mean taking less of the curve, you're talking about taking less of the curve out?
Start out, and then instead of maybe moving this 4 or 5 feet this way.
How about coming in further south, or whatever that is down?
You mean move the entrance?
Yeah.
No, we can't do that. No, there's heavy-duty utilities here.
Yeah, you got a transformer pad there, right?
Yeah, and these walls are substantial. I mean, I
But just back to, I don't understand, the original question was, why not leave the drive as it is and try and give him privacy in another way, rather than moving the drive over the filled-in wetland that was the problem that you were feeling emotional about. I'm just not sure why that can't be done. You know, leave it alone and add some plantings for privacy.
Well, I'm willing to revise this, but no matter what, he's going to want to curve it.
Okay.
So
What
I
you
would
want-
ask
okay.
if you're going to issue an order, give me, just say, move this over 10 feet or 12 feet or some distance like that. So he still gets the curve, he still gets the privacy.
They can
Right.
deliberate on that, Mike.
And I just have one other question about the lawn. The Falmouth friendly lawns, there's quite a bit of nitrogen you're talking about here. I'm just not clear if there's a landscape plan for the lawn and
The leaching that has been identified in the Cape Cod Planning and Economic Development Commission is based on very shallow organic soils. These organic soils, the topsoils, are very deep. The proportion of leaching drops dramatically with the thicker topsoil. I think 8 inches gets you so there's very little leaching. And I believe that the majority of the topsoil here is deeper than 8 inches. So I think I use the same leaching rate, though the landscaper tells me he only puts 1 pound per 1,000 square feet per year. So it's less than the 3 pounds. Nobody, even golf courses, don't use 3 pounds. I don't know where that came from, but that's what the is in the Cape Cod Commission instructions on nitrogen loading. So I use realistic numbers. As long as the topsoil is that thick. I also showed that the edge here of the lawns, along the places that are going to be altered, there's a mulch bed, and that's on sheet 4. And the purpose of the mulch bed is that the mulch bed will intercept the surface flow of any runoff.
Not
and
on sheet 4,
remove-
Mike.
Pardon me?
Not on sheet
I'll
4.
find it.
6, I think.
I'll find it. It's in here.
Nope, not 6.
Wait, give me a change. Sheet 2.
I saw it, I did see it.
Sheet 2 of it.
Yeah.
Proposed
Sheet 2?
mulch surface runoff area along buffer plantings and
Got it.
wetland.
That's on the other side. That shows on 152, not 160.
No, it's gonna be in here too.
Well, it only shows it
Well,
on
I don't
152.
see it on any plan in there, Mike. That's what I'm saying. You have it detailed out on lot 152, but not 160. Okay, but now we know. Thank you.
Well, my intent was everywhere there was,
I don't want intent, Mike. I want it on a plan.
it is on the plan, it's how you interpret it. So, you would, that,
152, Mike.
the intent is that there be a mulch bed the whole way along the edge. If you want me to, I will revise the plan shortly.
Can I just ask, that's very informative, but I'm not clear, is there a landscape plan for this lawn and the Falmouth-friendly type of lawn?
No, I have not filed a new plan because the only thing we have filed plans that show the specified plants in the new buffer area. I haven't shown any other plans.
Okay.
And I've never been required to show a landscape plan on existing conditions.
Russ, could I just follow up on one question?
Sure.
You made a statement about the Cape Cod Commission Economic Development profile for their soils and how they came up with they use it for sandy soils or whatever. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Okay, could you submit that information to the file?
We have it referenced, we can get it.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, well, all right, as long as, yeah.
You realize that's 1984 science.
Well, you referenced it, Mike.
I
so,
know.
You
You said you used it, Mike.
You
so-
used it.
I
so
used the formula, but
don't
I
throw it
didn't
at
use
us and then
some of
take it
the
away.
values. I didn't use that value. Petrovic has got quite a paper about the thickness
I've already
of
read it.
topsoil.
But that's not the one you said, so just get that one.
Thank you, good.
I'm just ducky.
Jamie?
Just to ask, are you forfeiting 2 bedrooms in that?
Yes.
So why they did that?
So you're no longer going to raise that building, you're simply going to,
Reconstructed at grade.
thank you.
We can only spend 50% of the market value of the structure.
Right. I'm good.
Mary?
Pretty much, I think I just have one small question left that hasn't been covered. When I was at the site today, over on 152, it's a series of paths, and I noticed a stake along one path that leads right up to the water saying path to be removed.
That's
And
this
then
path.
there's another path, okay, and then there was another stake on a path that goes from the house to the west, saying path to be abandoned. And I was just wondering, is there a distinction there that's, or is it
I
just-
believe we described earlier that we would cease the use of these paths.
Okay, so they're just gonna be.
Let grow.
Okay. That's all.
That's it.
Okay, again, I know that I'm not on the forum, and I assume you're going to close the hearing, but I just want to make a couple of comments. One is, I think we can all agree that this is a beautiful site, and that once the work is done on the site, it will be beautiful to look at.
Wetland will be restored.
The system is well known. I'm going to address that. The area there will be better off than it is right now, but we always hope that it gets as much better off as possible. And the last thing I want to point out is, did you make a copy for the file?
Yeah, it's in there.
Well, I mean, you made one for the file. Did you make one for them? All right, well, I'll give this to them because I made one myself.
Okay.
So, the one thing, or I should say, one thing that disturbs me, and it comes back to your comment, Mike, we'll circle back to that, is the idea that in the 10 or 11 years that I've been on, and Moore's been on even longer, I think we've only had 2 wetlands replications. And what was asked for, and Mike, you asked this in the last meeting too, you asked about, well, they're going to be given the same area back as they had. And in fact, yes, there'll be an area of wetland that will serve for water storage, the same amount as was filled in the past. But the other question you have to ask is all the other ecosystem services. And I was so glad that Mike pointed out that one of the roles of these wetlands is to recycle nitrogen. And it's much more likely that restored wetlands will function in those ways than a replicated wetland, which is an area that wasn't a wetland or hasn't been a wetland at least for a long period of time. And I don't know how many of you have noticed, but in the last year or two, there have been a number of articles in the newspaper about the fact that really wetland replications in general aren't working very well in Massachusetts. Either conservation commissions ask for them to be done, and then the project's done and it's never quite, that part of it's never done, or they're done and they don't work very well. And so there's a, this is from UMass 2015 Wetlands Monitoring and Assessment Summary. And I just, and there are certain criteria that have been developed to see how well these wetlands are functioning. But I just want to say, in a study of 44 municipalities, of the 91 sites where permission to access was obtained, 56 of the wetlands were built and created a wetland, 13% were never built, 31 were constructed but failed to produce wetlands. When evaluating whether the wetland replacement areas met all the performance criteria of the Massachusetts wetland regulations, we found only 36% of the replacement areas were built and created wetlands that were fully compliant with the regulations. So what's being restored for half of the area here, let alone the area you just asked about, where you fill a wetland and then recreate a wetland, but what's being proposed here for the restored wetland, half of that restored wetland is not a restored wetland. It's a replicated wetland. And, you know, maybe it'll work as well, but maybe it won't. And will it recover as quickly as a restored wetland? Very unlikely. And that's it. You ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, the first thing I want to say is that she was not here for the first hearing. Yep. We actually introduced the newspaper article and the description, and we furnished, I think Mark testified about some wetlands, and I testified about some wetlands that we restored and are actually out there functioning wetlands. So I think it's unfair to be basically ambushed at the last minute with this kind of information. It should have been given it to us so we could respond appropriately. We did talk about the success of replicated wetlands. And in fact, I brought in a notice to describe activities around 5 wetlands out at the Ballymead Country Club that didn't exist when we permitted it. So man can build wetlands. Mr. Noun.
Well, I don't think it's an ambush because that study's been around for a while. As a matter of fact, I made my bucket list because I was on PBS Boston, Emily Rooney's program on this specific issue some time ago when it was first released. I think what you see when you dig into the article is the problem is twofold. One is enforcement, some individuals don't go forward. And number 2 is the commission really doesn't have the ability to monitor it. This commission I've been in front of for a number of years. There's a lot of talent and monitoring on this commission. I specifically stated in my letter to the board that you should require us to do the plantings and the excavation and the initial monitoring before we do go forward on the work associated with the notice of intent. Specifically at this question, replication is really not a science to me. If you get to the hydrology, you get to the right level, Mark and others will tell you, and you monitor it, it will work. But it really requires effort by the applicant and some monitoring by the commission. You're fortunate here because we have an applicant who has the resources to do it right. And I think that he's the exception rather than your concern. We can address all of those through enforcement, through monitoring for as many years as you want us to do. We can submit as many reports. I'm very confident, having dealt with LEC, I think you know LEC, And this area, because of the groundwater, yeah, it's going to be restored and it's going to make it. So I can understand Mike feels like it's ambush. I think this is an issue that we see all the time. We're fighting to give commissions more ability to allow for replication, and we've done restoration where we can. So I would finally say that our client looks at this really as a global. We've talked about global because he says, look, if I'm going to do all of this, let's just do it once. And that's why he wants to take care of his privacy. That's why he wants to take care of everything on site, put in the spot. Ordinarily, some people might do it in tiers, but he wants to do everything at once. And that's why we've asked for all of this as one project. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
All right, Mike, got something else, Mike?
Well, just a detail to the, I guess it's the west of the house, there's a number of trees, several of them are dying, at least 2. Are they coming out during this whole process?
There's one that just died in here,
Yeah, there's at least 2 in there that are in,
and
they're not happy.
I told him we should apply to remove it, and he said only after the person in charge of the trees identifies what killed it. But I know there's one that's dead right there.
There's at least 1, maybe
Yeah.
2.
So I haven't received word from the landscaper what killed that tree, but there is definitely one of these trees dead.
And I guess this comes under the head of global, we want to do it once.
Yes.
If you're going to take down trees, please don't come back.
And actually on that, you're right, Mike, I did see those, and I'm sure on one of these plans are all the existing trees identified by
I
DVH.
think they are.
They are, I know, I think it was on the first one we ever got.
Yes, okay.
So many plans.
Where are we at?
All right, well, I'm looking for a motion, number 1, but I want to read the quorum one more time.
Okay, Jamie, Mary, Russ, Mike, Maury.
So I am looking for a motion.
Fine. I make a motion to close the hearing and take it over the line.
Second.
We got Mike and Mary. Any other discussion amongst the board? Comments from the public? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions, unanimous, so moved.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And they said it would be done. Ben, do you have a thumb drive in here that they forgot to use their PowerPoint presentation?